Would you rather have unlimited bacon, but no more video games, or games? Unlimited games, but no games. A very thought-provoking question, I know. But guess what? You don't need to choose, because you can have both unlimited bacon and unlimited games, but no games. Because if you're looking for unlimited games and no games at the same time, then Roblox is the perfect place for you. You can spend hours scrolling through the charts and not find a single half-decent game or something actually fun. Meanwhile, all the actual good games are buried at the bottom or not even recommended due to the way Roblox's algorithm prioritizes profits and player retention over quality, when in reality that player retention should come with quality. Roblox developers truly have perfected making games that farm revenue without quality or effort involved. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the best ways to make a Roblox game farm that makes as much money as possible with minimal effort, while going over the different types of games that these Roblox developers abuse, as well as the major groups of developers going through with all this yummy slop. If you enjoy, make sure to subscribe and check me out over at twitch.tv/Reaconteur, where I'll be live 20 minutes after this video. Now let's get straight into it. Starting with how to make these types of games, lots of developers who own game groups will simply make clones of other games or clones of their own games with the code they already have. Think about how many original games actually exist on Roblox right now. You can probably name a few if you're a consistent Roblox user and older than the age of 12, but if I asked you to name a simulator game, you can probably name at least 5, or at least much more than you can name original games. And then Roblox devs only give into this more because they not just copy concepts and gameplay core mechanics, but just entire games. People have remade and reskinned popular and successful games just to make money. Look at Dead Rails, originally a super popular game in which you're on a train with friends going through zombie-infested deserts to find loot and weapons. It's honestly a pretty simple concept, and the game itself is pretty simple, but it was original, and it was actually pretty fun for what it was. And I also did talk about this in a recent video, but I think it's a good example anyway. After Dead Rails, we ended up getting the games Dead Sails, Dead Ocean, Sprunby Rail. By the way, fuck you, Sprunby. I don't know who you are, but naming the game after yourself and you didn't even make it is so lame. Sprunby Rail. And it's also one of those annoying ass names. It sounds kind of like, I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. We got Dead Rivers, Dead Roads, Frozen Rails, and Bullet Cart. That last one is at least a little bit more original with the name, but they're all the same game. And this happens with basically every popular game on Roblox, but for some reason it was really bad with Dead Rails, so I thought it was a good example to use here. However, the other option that isn't stealing other developers' games is just remaking your own games. This seems less popular than it was back when simulators first came out, because simulators years ago used to be the best way to make money on Roblox, so you'd have games just pumping out simulators and then repost the same game with the same code, except they would just change the models and tool names and animations and concepts. It sounds like a lot of work when I say it like that, but the only effort required in this model was for just changing the models for items, obviously, and also the animations, and both of those most of the time were pretty simple. So the entire scheme was pretty simple. These game developers then just keep pumping them out until they get a big one or make some decent money off of the minimal effort ones. Roblox has also gone through a few phases with games like this. Like back in 2016, it was all about the simulators, and then back around like 2018 to 2020, it was in a weird spot where you'd have like tycoons and all that stuff. And then recently it's been a mix of Battlegrounds games, which Jujutsu Shenanigans I think gets a little exemption from this because I think it's much better than a lot of the other ones. Many Battlegrounds games will just take somewhat uninspired movesets out of animes or other games even, or just rip them from Anime Battle Arena, which was in a way the first Battlegrounds game, and just kind of turn it into its own game, which is kind of lame. Now, another way that people also make money on Roblox is just remaking actual games, but in Roblox, but kind of worse, or sometimes a little bit better. It's weird, right? Because you see the game Buckshot, which is obviously a copy of Buckshot Roulette. They didn't even try and disguise it. They use the same villain character, they do the same everything, they have the same sound effects too. They ripped that game's sound effects, but it's multiplayer without mods, and you can play it on Roblox for free. So in a way, it's kind of better, but I don't think that's fair because they're kind of just like Roblox developers ripping from indie developers with less effort because they didn't think of their own original ideas. They simply make games based on other games and copy them word for word because these small indie developers don't have copyright protection or legal teams who can help them with the claiming for stuff like this. Do I think Buckshot should exist on Roblox? No, I think Buckshot is a great example of copyright infringement and something that shouldn't exist on Roblox because they're actively stealing from an indie developer. And that game gets thousands of players. They're making a lot of money off of that game, which isn't made with any of their own original ideas. But because the developer of Buckshot Roulette is a small indie developer who is selling his game for pay what you want prices on itch.io, he literally doesn't have the capability of suing or getting this game taken down or getting the rightful justification or the money that he deserved off of the ideas that were used in Buckshot Roulette that were copied for Buckshot. And there's a lot of more games that do this. There was a more recent game that was like multiplayer Fear and Hunger on Roblox, but I will say that one was actually kind of good. I really liked that one as a Fear and Hunger fan. It's still honestly a little bit scummy to be taking people's ideas, especially when they're indie developers. Like Phantom Forces, for example, took, I don't know, Battlefield and Call of Duty inspiration, and it's like, alright, that's fine, because, you know, that's a AAA game being slightly copied by a small studio on Roblox who's just making a bit of money on it, and making the game slightly different for kids and making it more accessible. A lot of these games are literally just straight carbon copies that try and copy as close as possible without adding their own original ideas, and it's really lame. And then they'll do it off of indie developers who just happen to recently blow up off of Twitch, because a lot of indie games recently have been blowing up off of Twitch streamers and stuff like that, and then they'll get super popular because YouTubers play them, but then these Roblox developers will just outright copy them, and it's super sad. Now, other than that, what's the best way to make money off of these games? Well, obviously targeting children with predatory marketing tactics. Have any of you guys noticed that how many Roblox games started incorporating gambling-based or theme mechanics? Imagine Counter-Strike cases got implemented into every game ever, and that's what Roblox recently has been like. Random slot game incorporates skins will have cases with various rarity rates, and then they'll add like a cycling animation with a big VFX, like you're opening a case straight out of Counter-Strike. They literally get kids addicted to gambling to increase player retention. That's the entire reason why RNG games are popular. Souls RNG is the biggest slop on the entire platform, because the game is literally just copy and pasted code from like whatever gambling they have, game passes that cost too much to let you gamble faster and better, and then just VFX. And you could say, oh, but the VFX are nice and they took a lot of effort, but unless Soul, the guy who made the game, if his name is Soul, made all the VFX himself, which even if he did, it's really not that much effort. VFX are comparatively easier to make than other parts of a game. And yeah, he has to make a lot of them, but think about how many hundreds to thousands of VFX actual games and other good Roblox games have to make for their games, versus this guy who spends all of his time on the VFX because Souls RNG is nothing but a VFX simulator, and then you get the big VFX with the big glow and you can flex on people with your 1 in a billion chance VFX, and it's lame. You guys are literally just getting kids to gamble so that way they can stay in your game. A few other optimization methods include big flashy lights and signs which prompt you to buy things. These are very common in games that will like prioritize mobile players, like little slop games, like I don't know, like those games that'll be like climb the tower or to the end or something like that, and then they'll have just a bunch of buttons all over the screen that are super obnoxious on mobile devices to get kids to click on them, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose. Either way, if a kid clicks on it, he might read it. If a kid reads it, he might buy it. Optimization methods other than that include cheap developer products, which kids can buy over and over again without realizing how much Robux they're actually spending. Maybe it's 9 Robux at a time, but it's a plus 5 speed boost. So what if they buy it 10 times? Then they get plus 50 speed, but they also just spent like 100 Robux. Or time-based mechanics that keep people coming in, much like Grow a Garden's timed rare seed releases, how Grow a Garden servers will release certain seed packs in limited quantities, like at certain times of the day or just randomly, which is why if you go into a game and say, hey, they have like the lava flower seed or something stupid, people used to like leave their game or whatever they were in to go to Grow a Garden. It was a very common occurrence. There used to be a TikTok trend around it. And then there's even like permadeath inspired mechanics in which you can permanently lose progress. Look at Steal a Brain Rot. That game's core mechanics are rooted in permanent potential loss, since you can have a Tung Tung Sahur with 1 billion power or whatever, and it could just be gone in an instant. Little side tangent though. People on TikTok are LARPing Tung 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 Sahur. They're saying, it used to be 9 Tungs. Say the full name. And it's like, no, it wasn't actually. It was 7. It was 7, not 9. So I don't know how people are LARPing a meme that's AI that came out like 2 years ago. Like, I don't get how you guys are gonna be like, it's 9, and then it like spread like that. It was never 9. It was always 7 Tungs. I'm sorry, I'm stupid. Either way, all of this is just to make you want to reach your old peak, motivating you to play for longer. This is all really meant to make people play for longer and get the developers money, and then tons of games just keep copying it over and over. Steal a brain rot, steal an underground rapper, steal a whatever the hell. But there's also another side of Roblox game owners, the ones who buy them. Many Roblox development groups now that are exceptionally large with large categories of, I guess, different games aren't actually owned by the devs. Well, they are, but they weren't made by them. The biggest culprits of this are Do Big Games. Do Big Games, or Do Big Studios, are a group which buys games, infamously releases terrible updates because they usually write out the original developers, and if they don't, then they just pay the developers who work on them to pump out anything that'll make money. And the entire group are huge pieces of shit, not just for this. Do Big Studios was founded by by Do Big, and a few notable characters who I'm making a solo video on because these guys are all probably scumbags, but I do actually have personal experience with one of them being their old COO and lead scripter, who is known as Do Small or FreeCons12. This guy is a huge piece of human garbage, and he's getting a whole video made on Do Big Studios just because of the things that he's done, which deserve to be banned off of Roblox. But that all requires some research to get through with that video, so I literally can't fit it in here. So I'm sorry if you guys want to see that. It'll be coming out probably Monday. Regardless, Do Big Studios releases awful updates for games and just continues to farm money out of Roblox IPs you may recognize, such as Grow a Garden. Grow a Garden 2, which was a straight cash grab. They could have just updated Grow a Garden, but instead like, let me make 2 games so that way we can just keep farming like that. It's so scummy. They've also made Steal a Brain Rot, Murders vs. Sheriffs, which I've never even seen, Blue Lock Rivals, Blade Ball, Build a Ring Farm, Baddies, A Dusty Trip, Build a Plane, and more. Out of all their games, the only game they actually ever made in-house, which was by Do Big Studios, alone, was Steal a Brain Rot. And full offense, but I think a 13-year-old who sits in his room all day could make a more advanced game in terms of literally every aspect. But clearly that isn't the goal, because all they care about is money, not actually making something good. Do Big Games specializes in buying out already popular Roblox games, which are usually, at least at the time, pretty original concepts. It also seems like they have a few different kinds of business partnership models, some in which the main devs of the original games stay in the game and are paid to update the game, and others are completely written out after a large, assumingly large at least, one-time payment, and then they have the developers over at Do Big Studios pumping out trashy updates, which is why usually a lot of the time these games end up becoming worse after acquired by Do Big Studios, because the lead devs and whoever comes up with the ideas behind their games are either unskilled or unoriginal, but probably both. Seeing as how literally the only game they ever actually made was Steal a Brain Rot, this group is a parasite on Roblox that genuinely only exists to worsen the platform for their own game, which is why I'm making a video on it pretty soon, as well as some of the allegations I haven't actually seen spread on a few members of the group, or ex-members, because fuck Do Big Studios, every single one of you. Regardless, I kinda just want to make this video because Roblox really does have unlimited games, but no games, and it's a mix of bad developers looking to make some money, all the way to literal small corporations monetizing Roblox to the largest extent that they can. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be dropping a new song cover this week, probably Thursday or Friday, so if you guys want to hear my song covers and music, buy a YouTube membership. Even the lowest tier can hear all of my song covers, and I'm actually dropping 2 this month to make up for last month, because my Flower Man cover is only in the Raycon Live Deltarune Chapter 5 video, so if you want to hear it, you can go watch it over there, but I was actually going to refine it and make it better before releasing it on this channel, so I'll be dropping 2 covers this week, or this month. And shout out to YouTube members of tier 2 or higher: Philip, Akio Sukikuni, Zerksky, Fun Guns, Crypto, Broccoli, Delusional Mo, Dev, Drizzy Drake Fan, and thank you so much to Suited Wendigo for buying the top biggest guy tier. I love you so much, Suited Wendigo. Anyway, I love you all regardless. I hope you all enjoyed. Sorry about not uploading on Monday. I lost power due to all the heat affecting the power grid in my city. I love you all anyway. Have an amazing day, and of course, goodbye.